and welcome to this afternoon's program of the STA Daily Report with Emma Mullen. I'm your host, Emma Mullen. This afternoon, we'll be covering the latest news on the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics. We'll be discussing a sport so rigorous, so physically challenging, yet so artful and elegant that one might even describe it as dancing on knives. That's right, figure skating. Although the professionals make the sport look effortless by gliding perfectly across the ice and completing flawless twirls in the air, skating is actually a rather slippery sport. It's a competition where athletes perform choreographed patterns on an ice rink. I'm joined now by a special STA correspondent who is in Sochi, Russia, the home of the 2014 Olympic Games. Emma, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm currently standing inside the Iceberg Skating Palace, the arena for this year's figure skaters. Here, women skaters from all around the globe are preparing for the ladies' free skating. Let's take a look.
This is a fierce, edgy short program where it really shows her maturity. Triple flip, double toe combination, a little bit of trouble there on the landing. Was planning the triple.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. That was our own Ashley Wagner skating for the U.S. Olympic team. Later this week, we'll see paired skaters and ice dancers perform, so be sure to check back to watch partners Marissa Castelli and Simon Schnapier, Felicia Zhang and Nathan Bartholomew, and ice dancers Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, Maya Shibutani and Alex Shibutani, and Meryl Davis and Charlie White. Back to you, Emma. How fabulous! Isn't it just wonderful getting to see world-renowned athletes come together and compete peacefully? Now, in previous games, figure skating was a singular sport. Pairs of ice skaters and dancers existed, but the majority of events, especially for Americans, were solitary endeavors. But this rule has officially ended. Now, like the dancers themselves, figure skating events come in all different shapes and sizes. Single ladies, single men, partner routines, and ice dancing. This year's American team includes single skaters Paulina Edmonds, Gracie Gold, Ashley Wagner, Jeremy Abbott, and Jason Brown. The athletes trained across the country from California to Massachusetts in preparation for the Olympic Games. This is the first Games for all except Jeremy Abbott, who will be returning for the second time. Let's check back with Emma and see how we scored. Now, unfortunately, Ashley Wagner only scored a 64.71 and ranked 6th overall, but she truly gave us an outstanding performance. Figure skaters are scored using the ISU judging system. The system is based on cumulative points, which are rewarded for a technical score and 5 additional program components. Things like skating skills, transitions, choreography, interpretation, and execution are all added together to get a composite score. Thanks for all your help, Emma. Let's turn now to another special STA correspondent. This woman is a scientist who has been working in Russia for the past 3 months trying to analyze the physics behind figure skating. Emma, what have you learned?
Thanks, Emma. Well, like you said, I've been busy researching the basic physics behind figure skating, and what I've discovered is mind-blowing. It would take far too long to cover all the physics involved in the sport, so to keep it short, we'll cover the 3 points I found most interesting. The first point is the science of the skates. You mentioned earlier that figure skating is a pretty slippery sport. But do you know why it's slippery? Well, it's because of the ice. When a skater's blades come in contact with the ice, there's a great amount of pressure involved. This pressure causes a very thin layer of ice to turn into water, which essentially oils the surface for a low-friction glide. But skaters wouldn't even be able to skate on this ice if it wasn't for the actual skates. Unlike speed skates that are built for flexibility, figure skates are stiff, well, because they're made of leather, and they have to support the ankle through all those twists and turns and jumps. The leather provides the perfect blend of stiffness and movability. As for the blades, Although all skates' blades are made out of high-quality steel, each blade is engineered and designed for specific kinds of movement. Figure skate blades have toe picks, which are pointed teeth at the front of the blades, that skaters use to dig into the ice to either stop or to launch a jump. The second point I'd like to cover involves the kinetic and potential energy and the conversion between the two that's involved in figure skating. In figure skating, kinetic energy is fairly easy to identify because we see the athlete moving across the ice. We see the object's motion. But what about potential energy? One might initially think that potential energy is present when a skater strikes his final pose to mark the end of a performance, or when an average skater, like myself, has to slam into the wall to stop. But potential energy actually hides in the muscles. Muscles act like springs, meaning they can compress and decompress. So when a muscle applies a force, the potential energy in the muscle is converted into kinetic energy. This idea is especially useful in jumps. For a jump, a skater uses potential energy, or muscle power, to gain speed across the ice. When he pushes off the ice, he flies upward, and the kinetic energy is converted to potential energy. At the top of the jump, the skater has no kinetic energy, but only for a moment, until he starts to fall back down. Once the descent starts, the potential energy is once again converted to kinetic energy. When he hits the ice, all the potential energy that was present at the top is now kinetic energy at the bottom, so he hits the ice pretty hard. And the third point involves torque and angular momentum. In order for a skater to jump off the ice and rotate in the air, he has to exert a torque on his body and also generate enough angular momentum. To do this, skaters push their feet against the ice. While doing this, the ice also applies a reaction force on the skater. Think of Newton's third law. This reaction force is what gives the skater angular momentum, or the ability to rotate. The rotational force, or the torque, comes from the skater applying a force away from the axis of rotation. To keep it simple, the larger the force, or the farther the force is from the axis of rotation, the larger the torque. And the larger the torque, the greater the angular momentum. In fact, I have a pretty simple DIY activity for all STA viewers. I have an assistant to help me demonstrate, so follow us and we'll show you. As you can see, when my assistant extends her arms, the chair spins slower, but when she brings them closer into her body, the chair begins to spin faster. This is because angular momentum is conserved. There's a drop of inertia, which is accompanied by a rise in angular velocity, and hence this chair spins faster when her arms are pulled in. As you can see, this is a very simple demonstration, and I encourage all STAers to try it at home. Back to you, Emma.
Fortunately, that's all the time we have left for this afternoon. Thanks for watching the STA Daily Report with Emma Mullen. See you next time.